welcome back to Stacie D. I am at Freedom to Write, and I am here in my farmhouse kitchen, and I'm super excited. For a while now, I've really wanted to make some breadsticks for you guys and show you how to do it, and they're simple, they are fast, they need no rise time at all, and before you know it, you are dipping that breadstick in some delicious, amazing spaghetti sauce. So that's what we're making today. Alright, so first thing first is you're going to need a very large mixing bowl. Well, maybe not a really large mixing bowl, but I make a lot of breadsticks, so I usually use my largest bowl. And today I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make 2 batches because we're also going to be eating these for dinner. And so far, my kitchen smells amazing with this black bean Italian stew that I'm making. I really love to make different kinds of food and just kind of like throw ingredients together and see what happens. So that's really what I did. So there's no like recipe that goes with that or anything. But so far I've already done the yeast and the hot water. Now, if you are nervous at all about cooking yeast or with dough because there's a lot of chemical reactions and sometimes these things can fall kind of flat, never fear. It's like any other skill. Once you learn it and you have it for life. So my first recommendation is when you get your hot water or hot liquid, whatever it is that you're putting your yeast in, the simplest way to know if it's too hot is that it's going to be at that point. Okay, for instance, if I were to turn on my faucet right now, I know the water's going to be ready when my fingers get uncomfortable. Right about there. And as soon as I go like this, I know, okay, that water's ready and it's ready to go. So I fill up however much I need. In this case, for one batch, you need 1.5 cups of water. And you also, if you do cook with a lot of yeast and you already have like a yeast block, then you're going to need 1 tablespoon of yeast. But if you don't do as many and you get the packets, 1 packet will do just fine. This has the equivalent of 2.5 teaspoons, whereas a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons per, that's the equivalent. But that extra half of a teaspoon, I haven't really found any sort of problem with that. So that's all you need. And then I like to go ahead and add my sweetener to it as well. And I like to use honey whenever I can, whenever that's a viable option. So I've already put the honey in, and the honey was 2 tablespoons. Or because, again, I'm making it a whole batch, 4 tablespoons, which is also the equivalent of a 4th cup. This is like, I didn't realize I was going to be doing so much math on video, but you guys got me at my best today. So I already have it in, and I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll bring it closer to the camera. But do you see the yeast working in the hot water? It's all frothy and beautiful and yummy, and it smells so good. Okay, so that's what you want it to look like. And it's going to take about 10 minutes to get that going. So that's why I started it before the video. All right, and so I already have the yeast. I already have the honey. So now I'm going to add, oh, look at my recipe. It's so loved and aged. Like, it's like soft now. So my recipe says 1 teaspoon of salt. But again, I'm going to do a double batch. So 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of salt. So 1 and 2. And you know what I just realized? That I don't have a mic hooked up. So instead of editing and pretending to add salt, I'm just going to go ahead and mic this sucker up. So excuse me a little. It's first time, you know, making a video. Not really. Not really. I should have known better. The Yeti comes in, he's like, heck, where's the mic? And I'm like, what? I don't know. But I usually have at least one thing that I forget every video, so I guess it's this one. One time I was making cocoa hot chocolate powder mix, and I forgot to get out the hot chocolate, or the chocolate. Oh, here he is now. Can you say hi to the people?
Hey, Sam.
Okay, so there we go. Hopefully you guys could hear the first part of that, which was the yeast and the honey, and now we've added the salt. All right, So next up is we're going to take our spoon and kind of like stir in the salt into the mixture, just a little bit, it doesn't take much, before we start adding the flour. You coming in? Okay, so I like unbleached all-purpose King Arthur white flour because it's non-GMO, and I don't know, I just feel like it's a good versatile flour, and there isn't anything else in it besides all-purpose flour. So it's I don't know, I like simplicity. I know that a lot of people like to get enriched white flour or whatever. That's cool, do you. Sometimes I do like to add a little half and half of wheat flour because I feel like all wheat flour is very heavy and dense and it doesn't get that same kind of rise. So I like to half and half it sometimes, but today we're going full blown all white flour. So hold on to your pants. I forgot the measuring cup. So we're 2 for 2 now. Okay. All right, so you want to grab, I think all in all it says, well crap, it doesn't even say how much flour I end up using. Typically it's 5 to 6 cups. I just like to make sure I have a bag of flour on hand whenever I go to make anything. So I sprinkle lightly in so it clumps less. And then in between each flour pour, I like to stir it in a little. If you're in a big rush, you could just eyeball it and dump it straight from the bag, but I don't always suggest that. That could turn into mayhem real quick. Anarchy. Anarchy in the kitchen. That sounds like a good cooking show. All right, so you want to stir enough cups of flour in that you literally can't stir anymore. Now you could always use a blender, anything that has a, what's that called? A dough hook on it and get it going. You could probably even throw this into a bread machine, but at the same time, I don't know how long that takes. And the whole point of this guy is that it's fast. So I like the simplicity of working with the dough with my hands. And over the years, I've really been able to learn how to read the dough and what the dough needs, whether I've added too much flour and I need to cut back, or maybe it needs a lot more because, I just haven't added enough. And so the dough can either get really dense or it can stay light and fluffy. And you want to lean towards light and fluffy because of all that gluten that you're trying to create and expand, and the air pockets in there that make it a really soft bread to eat when you're done. So, all right, so this is about there. So you can tell, I'll hold it up. You see that? Tell that it's a nice big soft cloud of dough. And then I'm going to sprinkle my counter with flour. Now they have all kinds of cool things that you can do. They have little cloth pads you can put down, or dough scrapers. I prefer doing it like this and then scraping the counters when I'm done. So put that off to the side. Get all my precious dough off the spoon. Okay, and now it's time to knead. So I can see that the light is pretty bright, so hopefully you can see it on the dough. Maybe I can get my lovely assistant here in a second to bring the camera down and show you the kneading process up close. So I was hoping that I'd be able to see it easily. Oh. Oh, the perfect. Okay, so what you do is you fold over the dough and you push with your hands. Push with the heels of your hands. And then you fold again and push with your heels. And you fold again and you push with your heels. Again, you're creating those air pockets. And this is gluten. So for all of you who don't know what gluten is a protein inside of flour that allows it to be the elasticity. You see that? There it is. That's the gluten. All right. Okay, kind sir. You can put it back. If your dough does not feel like that, no worries. That is okay. You will still eat edible bread, I promise. We have eaten many of practice breadsticks, practice loaves of bread. Oh, loaves of bread. Talk about hit and miss right there. That's hours of work. So again, I think if you're new to working with bread at all, these breadsticks are definitely the way to go because they're, again, quick and easy. I encourage you to start with white flour and learn what dough feels like. If you are not new to making breads, then I'm sure you'll appreciate how simple this whole recipe is. All right, so this is about there. Again, you probably want to knead for about 3 to 4 minutes. The more you knead, the better, honestly. Sometimes I think I get kind of bored and I stop too soon. If you feel like your dough is getting sticky, just add a little more flour. Don't be too afraid to add too much flour. I've heard before that you might want to get your hands wet so you don't add too much flour. And the only time I feel like that's true is if, again, you're starting to work with a really dense dough and you've already added too much and you're kind of coming from behind. Other than that, I say don't fight the stick. You know what I'm saying? Add more flour. Don't be afraid. This is going really well. I just had to air bubble pop. All right. Okay. Now, because I'm making 2 batches, I'm going to cut this in half. So normally with 1 batch, obviously your dough is going to be about half this size. So this is an amazing tool that I use. This is the thing I was talking about that scrapes. And this is what I also cut all my pastry dough with and all my bread dough with and everything. And it's super duper handy. It even has a ruler on the side in case you need to measure how thick your dough is. So, all right. So I'm going to cut this right down the middle. A little flour on the dough side. I'm going to put it back in my bowl. Okay. Now, normally, at this point, I would show off my amazing, really cool French style rolling pin, but the Eddie and I have been watching a lot of cooking shows here lately. On Netflix, there's a show called The Chef Show, and that's with Jon Favreau, and he is working with a chef. Oh, what is his name? Roy Troy. That's his name. What? Troy? That's the Yeti. He should just yell it. Why don't you yell it for the people?
Roy Troy.
There it is. Okay, and so they are going to all these different chefs, and they're teaching them a lot about stuff. And something that one of the chefs had said, who worked in a pretty happening pizza joint, was that you don't want to roll the dough out because of the air pockets, and you want to treat those nicely so that they behave and that you have softer dough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat it a bit like pizza crust. I'm just going to fling it out. Fling it about. This is my first time doing it this way, but I thought, heck, I don't feel like it can go wrong, you know? So far, this is amazing. Look at that. It just expanded. So pretty. So beautiful. Push out a little bit with my hands. Now, you want it to be pretty wide. We want to try to make it into a rectangle shape. And I'll show you why in a second. Awesome. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. I wonder how they're going to taste because I didn't roll them. We'll find out. Okay. So this part is done. And the next part, it looks so different now it's not rolled. It has all these fingerprints in it. All right. So the next part of this is that we're going to use garlic. So I'm going to give myself a second and wash my hands off all that nasty dough, and I'll see you in a second. All right, guys. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but these are garlic breadsticks. I think I just said breadsticks because in my head, I know that there's always garlic in them. So I have taken and wedged out 5 hearty cloves. See those? 5 amazing hearty cloves out of a head of garlic. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little trick, and you might already know it, but I'm going to put them in a bowl. I'm going to put another bowl on top. Now you can use like a jar, anything really, anything with a lid and a bottom. And I'm going to shake them. And this should, hopefully if they behave, get them all out of their shell. So here we go. All right, here we go. I'm a little dizzy. Nothing. They hardly got out the shell at all. What? That's ridiculous. How is that possible? Try again. Barely. Oh, they did not behave. All right, so here's the next step. It's time to dice the garlic and cut them up into small pieces. Now, I also have a pretty cool contraption that I think I'll use once I've peeled all this garlic that did not want to shake free, which I think was incredibly rude. All right, so I have this really cool garlic roller that my mom got me because she's the best. So I'm going to put 3 cloves in, close the little lid, and then roll it. And the little blades get the garlic mixed up that nicely. Is that cool? The only tricky part now, it's really kind of tricky to get out. But I feel like it's worth it sometimes, especially if you know you're going to be using a lot of garlic. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put them inside this little saucepan. Like this. Can't really see what I'm doing. The camera's not low enough, but that's okay. I'm going to scoop it out with my finger. If you have a thin rubber spatula, that would work too. You're going to smell like garlic though, so just be prepared. But I mean, really, what other better smell is there? If that doesn't scream romantic, I'm at a loss. I don't understand. Okay. Well, I feel like that is good enough for that round. And so I just have one more to do. So the blades just pop out as well. So I'm going to throw the blades back in. For my other 2. Okay. And just like that, voila, all the garlic is ready to go. And the best part is that I don't really stress out about washing this thing either. I rinse it out because the only thing going in it is garlic. So as long as all the little garlic pieces are out, I don't really worry about the smell or anything. I mean, that would really be my only concern. I mean, I rinse it out well. I don't just, nonchalantly rinse it out. Okay. Rinse my hand off. All right. And then the next part is you're going to put a few tablespoons of olive oil. And I don't really measure. I just eyeball. So I'm going to do this and I'm just going to go. Maybe it's more than a few. It's probably like 5 or 6. Until all the olive oil is covered in this nice coating. Can you see that? Nice little coating of olive oil. And then I'm going to put it on the stove and I'm going to simmer it for, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes. It's not long at all. Just until the olive oil has infused with the garlic smell. And you don't want to go too long, because then if the garlic turns brown, then it's going to have more of a bitter flavor. And you don't want that for your garlic bread. That's silly. All right. So when this is all done, I will show you. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. It's like a TV show. I'll be back. There's no one else here. I mean, the Yeti could appear again, I guess, at any moment, but that's not the point. Okay. All right, guys. So I have this beautiful, beautiful smelling garlic olive oil right here at my fingertips. And I'm going to grab a spoon. And I'm just going to take spoonfuls of this. And I'm going to lay it all over the dough and just spread it out. Now, you can also use, oh, what are they called? A pastry brush, or, you know, something you'd marinate with, those brushes. But a spoon works just fine as well, so that's not a big deal. So make sure you get enough of the actual garlic cloves in. Although the olive oil is doing plenty all by itself, you don't want to waste the garlic. Come on now, don't be foolish. Okay, so I think I just split it roughly in halves, since I have another batch coming. Okay, so got all that done. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. Now this is, at this point, you can add any extra fun things you want. I like to put salt on it and sprinkle it with a decent amount of salt. You could, if you love cheese, you can add cheese. You could add nutritional yeast if you want to. Maybe a little oregano. Ooh, that's not a bad idea, huh? Okay. Got a little clumpy there. Okay. So now here's the trick. The cool part about this dough is you take it and you fold it up and over itself so it's in half. That feels a little different than since I didn't roll it out. So we'll see how this goes long term. Okay. Then what you do is you take a knife, or if you have one of these guys, this will work too, and you're going to want to divide the dough into about 1-inch sections. Now, I already have my oven preheated to 400 degrees. Let me double check that's right. That could be devastating. Yep. 400 degrees. And then I've also lined my pan, my cookie sheet here, which I have a gigantic cookie sheet. I've also lined it with parchment paper, which not until here recently did I discover, like really discover. I'd read recipes where they say, you know, get parchment paper. I've seen it so many times, but I was always like, no, I'll just grease it, you know? And I didn't really like the idea of purchasing something that I'm just going to use and throw away if I didn't have to. Then one day I was like, you know, I needed parchment paper for a specific recipe that, in fact, I never actually used parchment paper to make. And then I was like, well, I already have it. I might as well use it to bake with and see how it goes. And I am like, I'm stinking hooked. So it's so easy because now when I use this, chances are I'm not going to really have to wash this pan at all. I might have to get a little excess flour off of it, but that's it. That's it. So hot diggity dog. And it says it's biodegradable, which I'm like, yep. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my first little sliver of dough. It's going to look like this. And I'm going to twist it like a twisty donut. And I'm going to lay it down on my pan. I'm going to get my next one and do the same thing. And if you haven't guessed, all these awesome guys are going to get the same luxury treatment. It's good for their spines. Okay. All right. I feel like I've been doing a lot of yoga. And we did some nice twists today, which felt really nice on my entire back, which I'm not mad at. Now, I should add that you don't need a gigantic pan to make these breadsticks. Total so far is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, wasn't that perfection? A nice dozen. And they would fit on a smaller pan. But when we downsized to become nomadic, all I kept was my gigantic pan because I thought that one was the only one that would be hard to replace if I wanted to replace them one day. Okay, so I'm on my last one. And again, this is just that one batch. So one batch makes roughly 12 breadsticks. And they're going to look like this. Let's see if I can get that angle. They're going to look like this when they're done. So now I'm going to pop them in the oven. And when they are all ready to go, I will be back and you guys will see. Okay, so the breadsticks are all done. Something that I failed to mention before was that they only take 7 minutes to bake. Did you know that?
I did. I've been around the block.
A time or two?
I've had these things before, so let's get into it.
Yeah, okay. So.
Are we going to eat it like face to face, Lady and the Tramp style?
Oh, that'd be so sweet. Oh, did you see that goo? Do you see how it broke apart? Here, I'll show you. Up close. So when you're all done.
Come on, do the Hodge twin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at some of that goo action. Yeah, look at some of that bread action.
Ooh, yeah. So it has this nice little light coating on the bottom. Only 7 minutes. No rise time. Is it? Is it really good?
That's a little different. See that? That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. It is so much better without rolling it. That's what I get for holding it in front of his face.
I'm opening them out.
All right. So thanks guys so much for watching. I hope that you make these breadsticks one day and that you love them as much as we do. And I should give a warning. They're super addictive because, you know, you're making something, you're like, what would go with this? What would be delicious? And you're like, breadsticks. And they're like, but Mom, we're having pancakes. And you're like, I don't care. All right. So anyway, I made one of them laugh in the background. We're surrounded. We don't put them on the internet, but they're everywhere. All right. Okay. So this is so good. I'm really excited to eat dinner. I have my next batches getting ready to go in the oven. So, all right. I have a hungry crew awaiting. So I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you later.